Our second theme is on the Federal Reserve, and it's called Fed is walking a fine line, but reflation risk is very high. What we've seen is inflation has steadily decelerated. It's been in conjunction with the improvement we've seen in the supply chain after the pandemic. But there still is room that we need to get the inflation lower. Right now at 3 to 3.5%, depending on which metric that you look at, we're not at that 2% Fed target. And that there's too many people banking on the fact that the Fed's going to come in and cut interest rates. I just don't see that as possible. The Fed has said on multiple occasions that they need to get down to that 2%. And what we're concerned about is that by increasing equity prices and increasing bond prices and the increase we've seen in housing prices, these all is asset price inflation. This can lead to a vicious circle where we get another increase in inflation. This is a big risk that we see. This is why we don't think the Fed's going to be cutting rates anytime soon. We think that second half of 2024 would be a more likely scenario as the economy is really starting to slow, but we don't see that they have the flexibility as early as most people are anticipating. When you look at this chart, you can see we've come down quite a bit. But to get to that 2%, this is where the hard work begins. What we need to see is some of those sticky inflation pressures. So think about wage inflation. This is very sticky. Think about housing inflation. Think about service inflation. These are things that are sticky and hard for the Fed to tackle. It's going to take time. We think that inflation is something that the Fed has made errors in the past, and they have been very clear that they don't want to repeat the 70s and 80s where we had stop-and-go monetary policy. We think the better chance is that the Fed will err on the side of caution. They would rather tighten too much and be able to come back in and cut than to get too dovish and loose too soon and then reignite inflation.